Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's about 6:17 in the morning on this Thursday morning, May 14th, 2020. For me at work, it is payday, so thank. Sorry about that. Did it again for the. See, that's what I mean by it's so early. Let me adjust the mic there. Hold on for a second, make sure everything's working. There. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Um, yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me. I do apologize for that. Yeah, but like I said, it is Thursday, May 14th, 2020. It is indeed payday for me at work today. It is about 6:18, like I said, in the morning. So I adjust my headset here. I do apologize for a little bit of the inconvenience there, so I do apologize. But anyway, yeah, it is about 6:17. So I'm just checking my camera, make sure everything's adjusted right. Okay. Well, like I said, it is about almost 6:20 actually. And yes, I've been up about 5:30, but I've been trying to wake myself up. Heck, I had to grab the last of my cafe mocha that I've had in the fridge just to wake me up, because if I turn on the coffee pot, I wake up the others in the house, so I don't want to do that. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to come on here with this live stream today, and you can see the title. It is talking. It is a. We are here to do a bit of a talking of a variety. I may have to correct that title. Yeah, talking about. I should say about. There we go. A variety of animation and comic book story topics and discussions. Yes, that is what we are here to talk about. Now, you might think this, when you look at the description, you might say, well, it sounds like a typical Topics on My Mind video. And it would. It would sound like that. There's no doubt about it. But it is not like that. Instead, like I said, it is similar, but it is different. Um, so anyway, though, with that said, what are the discussion points we're going to look at here today? Well, as I link this onto various places on Twitter and stuff, hold on for a sec. Here we go. And put down to Twitter and other variety of places. I do apologize. But anyway, so I just was checking something there. Like I said, it's early, so you have to apologize. I have to apologize for a little. If I'm not fully awake, I mean, I'm getting there. I mean, heck, towards the end of work yesterday, I suddenly just started to pick up a little bit. Like, whoa, where did this side of me come from? But yeah, again, the topics we're gonna talk about here, or at least, yeah, the variety of animation, comic book story topics and discussions we're gonna talk and discuss about here. Basically, it's only 5. It's not 6 like a typical Topics on My Mind. So that's basically why it's similar, but not in that same equation. Like I say, it's similar, but it's not in that same equation. As I check everything here, okay. So the first one we're going to talk about is why, and I should have said in my opinion, but I'm sure a lot of people would agree, why the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers episode O Chipmunk stands out as one of the best Disney afternoon episodes of all time, and why we could see a remake. I forgot to put C, so let me do that. See a remake / retake of it if Disney decides to do a Rescue Rangers reboot in the near future, kind of like what they've done with DuckTales and potentially will be doing with Darkwing Duck and maybe even Goof Troop and perhaps even Tailspin if they decide to go with them as well. So we're going to talk about that. The other thing we're going to talk about, number 2, because this is both animation and comic books we're talking about. The second thing we'll talk about is Sally's Robotization at the end of Sonic issue number 30 when it was under the RG Comics banner. And from a story perspective, easy for me to say, how it could have been, I forgot to put how, so I'll put that right now. It could have been avoided. So yeah, the second thing is we're going to talk about is Sally's Robotization. That's Princess Sally Acorn, and her robotization at the end of issue 230 when it was under the Archie Comics banner, but that being the Sonic comic book series. And from a story perspective, how it could have been avoided. Number 3, speaking of comics, we're going to stay on that. Number 3 is why IDW Comics, as freelance as they can be, seem more willing to ship the main 7/8, which is originally the main 6, over the creative staff of the animated series of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Now, what I mean by that is basically, why are we seeing, when you read the main comic book spin-off of, or the main comic book adaptation of the franchise by IDW, why they're more willing to do these kind of things over the animated series? Excuse me. And I don't think, and excuse me there, a bit of allergies and all that. Don't worry. It's a sore throat too. Don't worry, I don't have it. So, if you know what I mean. You know, God's watching over me, so I don't have it. But like I said, you know, I'm going to talk about that. Number 4, could we end up seeing more adult or all ages animated series like The Midnight Gospel, which is on Netflix right now, debut in the coming years? I'll talk about that. And the final one, the 5th one, is with all these animated reboots / retcons debuting over the past couple of years and with more on tap for the coming future, what other classic animated series could we see getting that same treatment? So yeah, those are the topics we're going to talk about. And like I said, we're going to talk about why O Chipmunk is one of the best Disney Afternoon episodes of all time, and why we could see another take on it, a reboot of it, or remake of it. We're going to talk about Sally's Robotization in issue 230 when the comic was under the Archie Comics banner. We're going to talk about why IDW is more willing to ship the main 6 or main 7/8 over the creative staff of the animated series for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. We're going to talk about whether or not we can end up seeing a more adult or all ages animated series like The Midnight Gospel. And again, what other shows could end up getting a reboot / retcon treatment from the past today? So with that said, we are at 6:26 a.m. I have to get ready in a little bit to get ready to get taken to work. So let's talk about the first thing on tap here. And that is why the Chippendale Rescue Rangers episode O Chipmunk stands out as one of the best Disney Afternoon episodes of all time, and why we could see a remake / retake of it if Disney decides to do a Rescue Rangers reboot. Now, I know some people might think, oh, it's just your own personal preference. Yeah, that's. I should say that is kind of true. It is kind of a personal preference, but I don't think I'm alone in it, guys. I don't think I'm alone in it. I think a lot of people would agree that when you look at O Chipmunk, that out of all the episodes that they did, and they did a lot of great episodes, they had some very unique episodes in the series at times. You know, they had, I mean, for what was it? What was it? They had the Rangers go to Japan, and by going to Japan, they end up getting enlarged by this ray at the end of towards the end of the episode. They become human sized, if not bigger than the humans themselves. What else? You have an episode where Gadget. You have episodes where Gadget goes not once, but twice. Gadget goes on a rampage. You see her become, as they called it in a promo a long time ago, Rambo-ette. When it came to the case of the Cola Colt, when they were previewing that. Dirty Rotten Diapers, you saw her just snap, or as Chip basically said in the episode, blow a gasket. So you've seen the show do a lot of unique things in the past. Excuse me there. Heck, they had the Rangers confront a freaking Sphinx in Egypt. So, you know, you had you had stuff like, you had stuff like that. So it's really, so, when you look at Double O Chipmunk and you say, and you are someone like me that comes out and says it's one of the best of all time in the Disney afternoon, if not the series of Rescue Rangers, that is high praise. That is high praise because of the fact that, to me, Double O Chipmunk, as I've said before, had a variety of firsts to it. It had a variety of firsts. And, excuse me. And I don't think anybody could deny that. I don't think anybody here would deny that Double O Chipmunk and Monk had a variety of firsts. And you're right, Bugs. I don't know that. I don't know that. But again, it's just an opinion. But I'm sure there are others that kind of share the same sentiment of, oh, it is pretty good. It is one of the best. I mean, because when you look at Double O Chipmunk, you look at the fact that, as I said, it has a variety of firsts in it. It's the first time we see Dale use a very intelligent side to himself. Excuse me there. But it's one of the first times we see Dale showcase a very inventive, intelligent side to himself, creative side to himself. The only other character we've known to have that beforehand was Gadget. Gadget basically was the only one to have that. Excuse me. She was the only one that ever showcased that side of herself, showcased that side on the team. We've never seen it outside of Gadget. I mean, we knew Dale had an imagination. We knew this because he was a fan of all this variety of pulp culture. And to see him apply it in this episode, I don't think any of us saw that coming. And the fact that when you think about it, who was the one that was the most impressed by it? Really like blown away by this creative, inventive side of Dale just coming out of nowhere. It was Gadget. She was just surprised by it. She was more appreciative of it. And this led, even though he accidentally smoked her workshop and the rest of the Ranger headquarters, this led to her basically understanding where he's coming from, feeling sorry for the fact that he went through all this trouble to make this spy suit to want to help contribute to the team. That what does she do? She decides, with tears in her eyes, holding the tuxedo, the modified tuxedo spy suit, she says, she sniffs, does a little sniffle with tears in her eyes, and she's like, if Dale wants to be a secret agent, I'm going to help him. And why? Because she understands where he's coming from. Because because we've also seen that. Well, I know I don't have the virus bug because I know I don't have it bugs because of the fact that, we're protected at my job. My, God, my family prays for me every day, so, and if I had it, I wouldn't be there right now. That's the thing. So, um, but anyway, but anyway, getting back on topic, like I said, she wants to help Dale because if you see throughout the series, and it's played up here a little bit, I guess, that she understands where he's coming from. She sees where he's coming from, and she's willing to help him achieve his goal. And does she help him achieve his goal? Oh yeah, she helps him all right. A lot of people even point out that she goes beyond helping him. Because what does she do? Obviously, off screen, she takes Chip and Monterey aside and says, "Look, guys, Dale may have, smoked up the entire headquarters, but he had good intentions. You know, she probably, like I said, probably off screen, she probably just tossed it in front of Chip and Monty and said, "Look, guys, Dale has a good heart, and even though he may have, smoked, um, used his cufflinks to accidentally smoke the headquarters, he had a good intentions. He wants to contribute." So, anyway, though, like I said, basically, she goes beyond her duty, if you will, to help him, because not only does she convince Monterey and Chip to tag along to make up for the fact that they made fun of Dale the previous night, and didn't realize, hey, look, he's trying to help, he's trying to contribute. We see another first in this episode with the Rangers, especially Gadget. You see, we know Gadget can be flirtatious. We know she can be very feminine or stuff like that. She could be, um, yeah, she can be flirtatious. She could be very feminine, be very shy kind of deal, especially when it comes to romance and all that, and getting attention on her and all that. Whether or not you would say that she's oblivious to Chip and Dale's attention to her, she's not. She's not oblivious. She's just more focused on doing what she does, and that's about it. But she knows about it. She knows. So, like I said, despite how you might view that, another first we see with Gadget is she goes out of her comfort zone to make Dale feel better by putting on a red dress, lipstick, thick eyeshadow, puts on a white yellowish wig, puts on a necklace, puts on a bracelet, puts on high heels, tans her skin, I guess, or uses some kind of foundation or powder to darken her skin, and she ends up pretending that she's her own cousin to get Dale's attention, or to get Dale's attention, to get him um to that's okay, Bugs, don't worry about it. I know you had good intentions and all that. It's just with all the all the mixed signals going around in the media, you never know anymore. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, like I said, um, Gadget basically, she beautifies herself up, femme fatales herself up a lot, to get Dale's attention, to get him to go along with this spy adventure that he doesn't realize is a game until later on. He doesn't realize it's a game till later on, because what happens is, while Dale's going on this quest, this adventure to return this microfilm, which by the time he finds out the truth about what's going on, has been switched with actual spy microfilm. uh, Dale plays along. He doesn't, over because, like I said, when Dale finds out the truth, he doesn't just come out of the bush and confront them and say, "Hey, so that's what this was all about? This was just a game to make me feel better. You guys didn't want to take it seriously." He didn't do that. Dale, again, using that intelligent side that we saw of him, says, "You know what? If it's a game, I'll play along. I'll play along, no doubt, and I'll make it obvious that I know I'm on to them." But again, like I said, and again, like I said, that's just a number of firsts. I mean, heck, in this episode, it's the first time that Gadget ever kisses any of the either Chip or Dale. It's the first time, and she kisses Dale on the lips. And one fan commentated or did a comment on a update video I did on the Dale and Gadget shipping. Uh, that was teased at times in the series, and some fans are actually behind. They even pointed out the whole, Chip being jealous deal, because Chip was. Chip was jealous after he saw that kiss. I mean, Monty was like the first to compliment Gadget on a job well done of being a true femme fatale. But what does Chip do? Chip's like, you didn't have to kiss him. And Gadget's like, well, isn't that what spies are supposed to do? And you can tell that instead of complimenting her like Monterey did, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, you didn't have to kiss him. In other words, there's that jealousy still there, like, hey, I should have been the first one, not him. you know. But yeah, we see a lot of first. We see a lot of first here. For example, another first that we see is how they distract the bad guys to, kind of start the domino effect of taking them down. And how do they do this? They do it by Chip, who was jealous at first, jealous as a kiss, obviously. We have Chip telling Gadget, use your spy act on this minion of Francis's, or this Rat Capone lookalike, because that's basically who it is. It's a Rat Capone lookalike. Use your spy act on him to distract him, so Dale could take advantage of the situation, so Dale could get a head up on them, or a finger up on them, or a heads up on them. And of course, Gadget's like, I can't do that. But Chip's like, look, you have to. It's the only way to save Dale and us. And even though she's reluctant to do it, what does she do? She whistles to the guy that has that helmet that controls the tank. And next thing you know, you see the mouse turn around real quickly, and you see Gadget just doing a sexual move with her shoulders and all that. They're kind of like giving him a little show. And it's like, whoa, where did this side of Gadget come from? It's like, and again, and again, that's a question that gets asked later on. And my finger just hit the mic there. I do apologize. But like I said, that's a question that obviously got asked earlier on. Like, whoa, where did this side of Gadget come from? Because when you look at the rest of the show, or watch the rest of the show, yeah, Gadget, she, like I said, she shows a feminine side, a shy side, kind of a flirtatious side. Anytime she gets attention from the guys or something like that, or she wants to get the guys' attentions to help out or to settle down and relax, we see her have those sides, but not like this, and that's why it's a big time for. That's why this episode is considered a first. An episode is considered one of the best of all time when it comes to not just Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers as a series, but the Disney afternoon as a whole, because we've never ever seen any of this before with the team, and we've seen hints of it, but we've never seen it full on. We've never seen an episode just dedicated to it in such a way, in such a unique episode at that. I mean, heck, you have Dale get the helmet that controls the tank, and he's controlling it like it's nobody's business. Now, you might say it's because, his background is you might say Oh, it's because he has his background of playing video games and all that helped him out. And and that might be true, but is the thing is it's still showing a side of him that we've never really seen in the series. But now the question is, if Chippendale Rescue Rangers was to follow suit like DuckTales and get a retcon slash reboot in the future, could we see a remake slash retake of this episode? Well, seeing as though DuckTales, the new DuckTales, this new season just did a retake or remake on Double O Duck, which was which was an episode in the original, like what, first two seasons of the 80s, the original 80s to 90s DuckTales. Seeing as though they took their own unique take on it with the new DuckTales series, I should say. If the Rescue Rangers was to get a reboot slash retcon series in the future, I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be against them doing a remake or a retake, and I could see them doing it. Because, like I said, if they could do that with DuckTales, the new DuckTales, and do basically a new retake of Double O Duck in this universe, which of course involved the Rescue Rangers as well, believe it or not, in their uh, DuckTale universe on their new generation Disney Afternoon debut. If they could do that with DuckTales, I could see them doing it with Rescue Rangers. I could see them doing their own take on it. I could see that. I can see them doing their own a retake or a remake of it. And we all know that when it comes to retakes or remakes, they're not always line for line, scene by scene, like the original. You know, they're their own thing. They can end up being their own thing. Like I said, case in point with this version of Double O Duck in DuckTales. So I could see them doing it. I could see them doing a new version of Double O Chipmunk um, in a new Rescue Ranger series if one gets off the ground. I could see them doing that. But what I can also see is because they like to build story arcs for the characters through various episodes. You know, I could see I could see a story arc like from a romantic perspective or a hint or a tease. I could see some kind of romantic tease or Easter egg or whatever being thrown in there for Dale and Gadget if they were to do it. I mean, yeah, you could say they pretty much did that already. But again, when you look at how the new DuckTales series is presented and how how the creative staff behind the scenes takes certain moments and says, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to use this episode or these moments in these episodes to build to something more from a story or character perspective. The same could be said, Ed, if they decide to do that with Rescue Rangers and an episode and their own version of Double O Chipmunk. I can see them doing that. I can. And I don't think anybody else would blame me for that. And like I said, I could see them following that same formula of taking certain moments out of that episode and building upon it from a story and character perspective. Like I said, you know, obviously, if they were to do a reboot or a retake, they know about the fans that support Dale and Gadget. They know that there's obviously a lot of Dale and Gadget moments in the original series. So why not build upon that in the new series and maybe tease that there might be something between them? And heck, even have a moment where, let's say, you have a female character like Tammy, if they bring her back in, like Ian Brill did for the Boom Studio comics continuation, or someone new, and have them confront Gadget, or at least talk to Gadget and ask her, okay, you could have came up with any other idea to make Dale, live out his spy dream. Why did you do this? Why did you go in that direction? Unless you have feelings for him, unless you have feelings that are beyond friendship for him. Again, just a thought of, again, that's just a thought, an opinion of how they could, of how they could go that route out like they do with DuckTales. So obviously, yeah, I could, excuse me here. got a little bit of a itch in there. But like I said, I could see them doing that with DuckTales. I could see them doing that. I mean, not DuckTales, but I could see them doing that with Rescue Rangers, following the same pattern as DuckTales. I could see them doing that. By using an episode, their own version of Double O Chipmunk, their own remake of it, to build upon that, kind of build towards possibly a hint of, okay, maybe there's something there between Dale and Gadget that goes beyond friendship. I think it'd be unique to see. I really do. But again, it's just an opinion. It's just an opinion. But honestly, I could see them doing. I could see them doing a remake of the episode should Rescue Rangers get a reboot like DuckTales did. I could see it. I honestly can. And I think anybody watching this or live right now or will be watching it later, I think a lot of people would agree that, they could see a retake / remake of Double O Chipmunk in a reboot retcon version of Rescue Rangers. And they could probably also see something being built upon from a character and story perspective for later on, to be explored later on in the new reboot series between characters like Dale and Gadget, because of the fact that Gadget went this far. And when one thinks about it, that was never really addressed upon or followed up on as to why she wanted to go this far, why she wanted to, go and take it to this next level and do what she did and kiss Dale on the lips, even if she was playing a femme fatale. That could all be explored, and I explored if they touch upon that in a new series. Like, use those moments to build upon and have other characters, either old or new, ally wise, ask them, why did you do this? Unless your feelings for Dale go beyond friendship. So again, it's just an opinion, but I could see them doing it. And Bugs, you're right, and Bugs here, Bugs Bunny, not the character Bugs Bunny, but somebody that has a name. Oh, that uses the name on YouTube. You're right. How could anybody like Chip not be jealous at the fact that, Gadget kissed Dale, or Dale got kissed on the lips before he did by Gadget? But yeah, I can honestly see them doing something like that in the future. I can, and that being, of course, a retake of Double O Chipmunk in a rebooted retcon series of Rescue Rangers, and possibly following the same direction that DuckTales does at times. I could see them building, off of that by having someone ask Gadget why she went to all that trouble when she could have easily done something more simpler. Just saying. So, just an opinion. So anyway, moving on to the next topic, and I know I went on with that one for a while. I do apologize. But going on to the next topic, because of course this is animation and comic books discussions. The next, excuse me there. The next topic is Sally's Robotization at the end of Sonic issue 230 when it was under the Archie Sonic comic license, and from a story perspective, how it could have been avoided. Okay, so in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure a lot of you do, around 225, well, let me put it this way. Ian Flynn, long story short, came on board as the new head writer. And one of the things Ian Flynn wanted to do originally, and he did follow up on some of these things, was to fix a lot of situations that he felt needed to be fixed, that he felt were not necessary. So he ended up doing a lot of things that some people agreed with and some didn't. He ended up killing off unnecessary characters or removing them from the equation by using some kind of story method or story logic to get them out of the picture. Or, like I said, he just ended up killing them off. We see Ian Flynn we we like I said, we see him fixing a lot of stuff as well. For example, he looks at the fact that okay, Nicole pretty much has control of the nanites. She has the ability to recreate or create her own anthropomorphic lynx-like body. Why not have her use that power that she has to create a new home for everybody, a new mobotropolis? So she does that. And the other thing he starts doing is he starts rebuilding the friendship. Well, not just the friendship, but the relationship, the love, the romance between Sonic and Sally. Yeah, he has them go through moments. We have the Iron Dominion situation where, well, basically you kind of throw a little short summer-like romance in there between Monkey Kong, or Ken Kong as he's called, and Sally, and you tease something with Sonic and Amy. But then at the end of it, you have Sally realizing, you know what, you know, I still have feelings for Sonic, and the way she acted originally in the past was not becoming of her. And you have the end of the epilogue of the Iron Dominion arc with them walking off to go get some chili dogs, if you will, or lunch at Sonic's uncle's chili dog stand or restaurant. And then from there, you have these hints throughout all the issues building up to issue 222, hinting that they are getting back together. And 222 basically has them get back together at the end. But then we end up heading towards 225, the anniversary issue. We have Sally get gunned down by a torrent when she goes off on her own to try to stop the Death Egg and Global Roboticizer from activating or whatever. And then we have the beginning of what's known as the Genesis Wave, the first one. And then after that, everything gets restored, sort of with a few changes here and there. And then at the end of that, which culminated in 230, we have Sally sacrifice herself by allowing herself to be roboticized because she was given another chance at life, thanks to Sonic doing what he did to restore the Genesis, to restore things to the way they were and wipe out the first Genesis wave. And Sally's robotization, her sacrifice, it's understandable why she did it. She wanted to, give back to the world, give back to to Sonic, and for giving her a second chance at life, but also to make up for the fact that, to make up for what she had done in the past by acting, like someone she's not. So this is her own way of saying, I care about all my friends and family beyond belief, that I'm willing to do this to myself to protect them. And like I said, that's where the robotization comes into play. And that was always and still is somewhat a highly debated topic of debate. The fact that Sally allowed herself to be roboticized when there could have been other options. I think even in the issue, you have Nicole telling her there has to be another option, there has to be another way. And from a story perspective, there was another way. You see, she has Nicole hack into the system and turn the roboticizer cannon on the Death Egg towards the Death Egg, or to the inside of the Death Egg, to their location, so that she could sacrifice herself to the robotization and save the planet, but also damage the Death Egg. Here's how this could have been avoided. She has Nicole turn the thing. Couldn't she just have Nicole turn it to the side, and then as soon as it blasts, it just blasts off into the air and hits nothing? I mean, because it's supposed to take what, one beam, one shot to roboticize the entire planet? Why not have Nicole? Why not have Nicole take the gun, and instead of turning it like this to aim towards them, have her take essentially this, turn it to the side, and pew out that way. It's a waste of a blast, and Eggman's plan fails, and Sally doesn't have to be roboticized. Why couldn't it have been done that way? Because why didn't they do it that way? And I understand people saying, well, from obviously Ian Flynn had bigger plans. And yeah, he did. He did have bigger plans, but as I said in one video um, long ago, Ben Bates actually had come out and talked about the fact that he actually told me that the original idea for Sally was you had two Sallys. Yeah, you had the Mecha Sally that was and Neo Sally. So and you had all these different scenarios. Basically, you had Sally in a comatose state somewhere on the planet, in a sleeping chamber, like what she was in the Princess Sally miniseries, or her and the automation, if you will. And you had this Mecha Sally, which was just nothing more than just a robot built out of, built from what Sally had become, and thus became Neo Sally upon de-robotization or the Genesis reboot or whatever. So, long story short, you had Ben Bates telling me about that, and you can check that out on my channel. Just look up Ben Bates, BW Rosses, and there you go. But anyway, Sal. But anyway, yeah, had those scenarios and everything. Had nothing happen behind the scenes. But the point is, I know, but like I said, what I'm getting at is I understand people saying that Ian had reasons. Ian had a story he wanted to tell, and he did tell a story. It had its ups and downs, and it didn't. Heck, I did a video basically where I opened every issue after 247, read up on each of them, if you will, or at least kind of skimmed through them to get the idea. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, from a story perspective, this could have easily been avoided because all she had to do, or all Nicole had to do, was say, you know what, I could just aim the cannon to go this way and hit nothing once it fires. There you go. You don't have to worry about the robotization. You don't have to drag people along for the ride for over a year and a half and a half to 2 years, just because you want to intend, because you have the plans to, because you have these original plans to build to something that never came to be due to behind the scenes issues. It's more along the lines that they could have easily avoided that, and they still could have used those issues to build to something big. You could have used it by having Eggman go on a rampage across the planet to get revenge on Sonic and the Freedom Fighters for what they did, destroying town after town, not caring whether or not he captures somebody to roboticize them or not, or if they end up being killed in the destruction. You could have utilized those next, what was it, 40, what was it, next 20, 30 issues plus to something like that, and it would have made more sense, and people would have been more invested in that, because you could have the characters talk about the destruction Eggman's leaving behind, even talk about possibly the loss of life that's come to be because of this. So, yeah, you could have had a lot of stuff here. You could have had a lot of stuff take place. A lot of stuff take place. Take place. A lot of stories take place in the place of what was originally given. Because, like I said, you could have easily had Nicole go from doing this to this. As simple as that. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that whatsoever. And that's what hurt them. That's what hurt the story, and that's what hurt them. That being the creative staff behind the series. Again, behind the story arc. I mean, I get Ian Flynn had these plans and everything, and that's fine. But you shouldn't plan on doing something if you kind of have an inkling of something beyond that could. If you have, I should say, an inkling of something happening that's beyond your control that may cause you to have to adapt to the situation and have to change things up. So, to me, honestly, I think when you look at the story, when you look at Sally's robotization at the end of 230, It was totally unnecessary, and from a story perspective, it could have been avoided by this happening, Eggman realizing what occurred, and just like at the end of 200, and as it was alluded to going towards 200, have him finally snap again to the point that he goes on this massive rampage. He goes on this massive rampage where he still has bits of his facility, or has somewhat of his facilities in place, but it's all mostly dominated by his insanity overtaking him because he's frustrated. It's like he had a chance to roboticize the world, make it his own, and it was taken away. So, and again, that could have created a more interesting scenario by having the freedom fighters go off as a group, maybe split into groups, and basically have them kind of assess what's going on, the situations, the loss of life. Because, like I said, you could have had Eggman go beyond the fact that I'm not just going to capture people to roboticize them anymore. I don't care if the crossfires. I don't care anymore. I'm going crazy. You could have him with that scenario. If I can't have the planet, nobody can. So yeah, I think honestly, and my finger hit the mic there. I do apologize, but I think honestly, they could have built upon that. They could have done that more so than they did with this episode, with this story, Ori, and I think that's how it could have easily been avoided. I understand some people again will say, well, he had plans, and I get that. I understand he had plans. I'm not saying he didn't, but the thing is, you would have saved yourself and everybody else selves a bit of a headache if you would have just given them, or if you would have just done a different kind of story. And I think, like I said, Eggman finally losing his mind. Excuse me there. But like I said, Eggman finally losing his mind and being like, if I can't, you know, if I can have the world, nobody can. And he ends up going on this rampage where he has a little bit of his facilities still, a bit of his facilities or his facilities still intact. But it's just on the verge of like, enough's enough. I'm done. If I can't win, nobody. If I can't rule this planet, nobody will have it. I think would have worked better. I really do. I really think it would have worked better, and I think anybody watching this would agree. Because again, I understand, Ian Flynn had plans and he wanted to follow through on them. But like I was trying to say, you obviously had to have some kind of inkling of something going on beyond the scenes that was beyond your control, and that you would have to adapt to the situation. So, but that's just my thing. That's just my opinion. But again, it's just my opinion on how I feel it could have been easily avoided. It really, it's again, just really my opinion on it. Okay. So the next one we want to talk about here, because right now it's about 7:05 a.m. I still got some time. But the next thing I want to talk about here, let's see. Hold on for a sec. Just checking something here for a second. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about here is number 3, why IDWs, as freelance as they can be, seem more willing to ship the main 6, or in this case, main 7/8, over the creative staff of the animated series of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Okay, so as you probably noticed in the animated portion of Friendship is Magic, they did tease some romances for the main characters, but the furthest and the closest they went was by taking Applejack's brother and Pinkie Pie's sister and pairing them with different characters. Big Mac with Applejack's brother, Big Mac with Sugar Belle, who we got introduced to in season 5, and Maud Pie with Mud Briar in season 8, which a lot of people, even Voice of Reason, pretty much said is a Sheldon pony, Sheldon of Big Bang Theory. So yeah, that's the closest they went. Like I said, they've teased romances. Heck, again, the longest tease of a romance, officially, unofficially, implied, indicated, whatever, has been and still is between Spike and Rarity, with a lot of people, even myself, kind of believing that something did happen between the two romantically that got them together. So so you have a lot of that. You have a lot of that. You look at the spin-off connecting series Equestria Girls. You have the thing with Twilight and Flash Century, especially when she comes back and she bumps into the Pony Guard version of Flash Century. So yeah, you have all these moments: Rainbow Dash, Soren, Fluttershy, Discord. Um, I think even Applejack and Timberwolf, or Applejack and Carmel. You have all these different ships that have been eased, hinted at, and have had their moments in the series. But when you compare the animated version to the comic book version by IDW, it seems IDW is more willing to go further with the ships than the animated series. Now, I haven't read the comic book series, the comics that much, but from what I have seen during certain panels and all that, and from what I've heard, it seems IDW is more willing to go in that direction. Why is that, you might ask? Well, because as I say in the parentheses, they're more freelanced, I think, than the animated series. They have more leeway, so they're able to kind of at least put a little bit of a romance in there for some of the characters, like Spike and Rarity. They could, if they wanted to, and I don't know if they did or they didn't, they could go and say, okay, let's build upon that relationship even more so. In fact, they did build upon it. You take a look at last year's annual holiday special issue that they did. The main story was Spike accompanying or going on a date with Rarity to all these different events that she had promised to attend so she could mingle with people, maybe make some business contacts and all that. So you essentially just had Spike in one panel saying, "Hey, would you like company?" and Rarity being acceptive of it. Like, all he had to do was ask her, "Hey, you want company?" Gets himself a date. Who know? Who knew? But the point is, when you look at IDW Comics, in fact, if you look at any comics that adapt a franchise into comic book form, even if it has an animated series counterpart, they're more willing to, how do I put it? They're more willing to go a little further in certain areas than the animated series. And especially when it comes to romance, they're more willing to go that far. And again, that's definitely showcased in certain issues. It's showcased, like I said, with special issues like the annual holiday issues, stuff like that. It's all shown in a way that you would ask yourself, okay, why didn't IDW do this? Not IDW, but why didn't DHX All Spark Animation do this? Which is a good question, but I think it's mostly because of the fact that the series originally and pretty much to the end was meant for kids, younger kids and all that, to help teach them life lessons and all that, but evolved into something more that I think was beyond even the creator, Lauren Faust's perspective. Even though she had plans to make a series everybody could enjoy, I don't think she had any idea it was going to become what it did. But yeah, the thing is, when you look at IDW Comics, they're more willing to go the route of shipping the main 6, main 7, main 8, if you will, with other characters, or maybe even within the group, depending on if you're LGBTQ, than the animated series. I mean, the only indication we ever got of shipping of the characters in the animated series was towards the end. Pinkie Pie married to Cheese Sandwich, Applejack and Rainbow together, maybe a little bit of implication, if you will, of Spike and Rarity, Fluttershy Discord. That's the only other time. That's the only time, really, from a semi-official kind of perspective that we see it. That's the only time. And I know some people are going to say, well, that's not entirely true. It's never officially said. And here's the thing, that might be true. That's and his thing, I should say, that is indeed true. It's not officially said, but I think it's too obvious, especially in that final episode, that something from a romantic standpoint happened between all the characters. So again, it's just my opinion. But when you compare the two versions of Friendship is Magic, the animation and the comic book version, the IDW Comics more willing to go this route than the animation one. Heck, the final panel we see at the end of the Nightmare Rarity arc is all of the main characters, all of the main seven, if you will, sitting or lying down on a cliff looking up into the sky at the moon, and you have Rarity with her arm around Spike, and you see this little heart emoji. And Spike's the one that's the freaking final piece of the puzzle to help restore her, or free her from being a Nightmare Rarity. So you have stuff like that. You have moments like that not even the animated series would have gone to, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, does the animated series go a little further at times? I mean, does the comic book go further when it comes to romance at times? Absolutely. It does go further. There's no doubt. I mean, you want to tease of romance, if you will. You want to tease of romance. Take a look at the photo montage at the end of Cancel Out Wedding doing the song Love is in Bloom. And then you take a look at somewhat at the beginning or somewhat at the beginning or early portion of the season 7 premiere, and there's two things you see. What are the two things you see? Sweetie Belle and Spike dancing together. Was Megan McCarthy, because she was the executive producer at the time, was she trying to get the writing staff to be like, yeah, you throw that in there because not only is it cute and adorable, but it kind of teases that something might happen. Again, excuse me there. Was she trying to hint at something? Who knows? Yeah, that is kind of but that's people's opinion, Bugs. Because and that's one thing Bugs brought up there. There was a teasing of a ship between Marble Pie and Big Mac, even though it's pretty much hinted at that there might be a bit of relativity between the two characters, even if it's a long distance kind of relativity. And that is indeed true. That is indeed true. But I think the reason they ship Marble Pie with Big Mac is because of the fact that since by this time it's pretty much established that Fluttershy is probably going to end up with Discord, that ixnays the Fluttershy Big Mac ship, and Marble Pie being the closest thing to a Fluttershy was the next best thing. But I think because of the fact that we don't see the Pie sisters as much and we see Big Mac more, I think it was obvious that it was either obvious that they were not going to ship him with anybody, or they wanted to throw us a curve. And that's what they did. They threw us a curve when it came to Sugar Belle. But anyway, the IDW Comics, like I said, came back on topic, all more willing to go these routes. More so than the animated series. And I think that's an obvious, I think that's very obvious in the minds of a lot of people. Like I said, if they wanted to, they could easily have, like I said, if they want to, they could easily do an issue down the line now that they're heading into the season 10 portion of the comic book series. They could easily, in it or one of the spin-offs, put Spike and Rarity together. They could easily say, okay, let's put Carmel and Applejack together. Or let's put Applejack and Rainbow together. Let's show how that happened. Stuff like that. Or let's dedicate an episode or an issue to Lyra and Bonbon getting married, because we see them proposing to each other we see them proposing to each other in the background of the Big Mac question. We see that. So So yeah, we see that happening. We see that. So, if the comics wanted to, they could do all that. Heck, they could even go the Sweetie Belle Spike route if they wanted to. Just saying. But the point is, when it comes to IDW Comics, and it's not just because I'm going off that last panel at the end of Nightmare Rarity, but when you look at it as a whole, and you look at comic books as a whole, when they do adaptations of franchises, well, they of franchises at the same time that they have animated adaptations, the reason they're more willing to go down these routes, like I said, is because they're a little bit more freelance, and they realize that the majority of people that read comics are older readers, of people that are growing up with the series, but would have a more understanding of what is addressed in the comic than they would in an animated series, even if the animated series did address similar topics. And MLPFIM did do that on both occasions, but you kind of get what I'm saying, right? The point is, when you get down to it, it's all depending. It all depends on the people behind the comic. And I know there's a lot of people that are hoping with the season 10 portion of the comics that we get some kind of clarification of romance of any perspective: Spike and Rarity, Applejack, Rainbow, maybe Twilight and Flash. Who knows? Stuff like that. They're hoping we get something, and eventually we will. And when I talk about the comics being more freelance, the animated series had to wait to the last, what was it, 2 episodes to include Tempest Shadow physically in person, along with Capper. The comics didn't wait too long. They said, you know what? We're more freelance. We're going to do this. We're going to build upon what happens afterwards. And there you go. So I think so. So I think honestly, the comics are more willing. It's obvious they're more willing to do it than the animated series, even though the animated series has hinted at it at times. I mean, heck, Friendship is Forever, which is like the mid-pelage, as I call it, of the series that takes place between after the final battle and Twilight's coronation. The first episode, addressing memories, touches upon Spike and Rarity. I mean, come on. I mean, the fact that Twilight's talking about her relationship with Spike, how it's changed, but Spike's always going to be very special to her. And you have, Spike with the heart emojis, or little heart symbols coming up above him, blushing, smiling, and the starlight looking over at him as the pictures or the video or the memories are appearing in the book, kind of giving him this look like, oh, I see what this is about, kind of deal. Like, come on, it's still there. It's still there. But again, besides that, it seems that the comics are more willing to address a romance and probably put the characters in romantic situations than the animated series, in my opinion. And if you don't believe me, read the comics. Read the recent holiday edition from 2019, and then look at that last panel from Nightmare Rarity arc. And you'll kind of see what I'm saying. And you might see other hints and moments as well in the comic. Again, like I said, I haven't caught up with the comics as much, but there's something there, obviously. But obviously, you could probably tell that there's something that they do things beyond what the comic, the series does. There's no doubt. Okay, so number 4, and I got to wrap this up quickly real soon because I got to get myself ready. Number 4, could we end up seeing more adult or okay. Number 4, could we end up seeing more adult or all ages animated series like The Midnight Gospel, which is currently on Netflix, debut in the coming years? Now, The Midnight Gospel, basically, I'm sure a lot of people have talked about this already. It's a new animated series by the individual that created Adventure Time. The animation, the Flash animation, 2D animation, it's not as smooth as Adventure Time. It's kind of a little stiff. But basically, it's one of those. It's a limited series. It's probably going to get another 8 episodes in the future. But it's a limited series. that is basically, let's put it this way, if you're on drugs or if you're drunk, it's the kind of series that you'll enjoy because it is psychedelic trippiness at its weirdness. Because long story short, this character named Chad, voiced by real life pod a real life podcaster by the name of Duncan, uses this virtual reality machine to go to these different worlds before the destruction or something like that. And he goes to these different worlds by choosing an avatar that's going to represent what he's going to look like in that world, or that could be relatable or connected to that world. And he goes through all these different scenarios as this avatar. He even adapts to being that avatar for quite some time, from what I can tell. In fact, one of the trippiest episodes where he becomes an avatar, he becomes like a chicken-like, squid-like, octopus character, whatever, but it's mostly like a chicken. It's on this planet that's all about processing meat or something. Long story short, he ends up being grounded into meat along with the characters he's trying to interview for his podcast. And there are sometimes where he just remains silent and just enjoys being processed into meat or something like that. It's that kind of craziness and quirky weirdness and trippiness and psychedelicness that I think people enjoy in this kind of stuff. Oh, that's making it stand out on Netflix because it's by the person that did Adventure Time, which was a successful Cartoon Network and was trippy on its own right at times, but nothing like this. And this is more adult targeted. So the question is, though, will we see more like this in the future, in the coming years? And I think we will. I honestly think we will. I think we're at a time now to where when you look at a lot of stuff on DeviantArt, on sites like DeviantArt or Tumblr or Pico or whatever you want to call it, all these artistic stream sites as well, and you see how weird some of the stuff could be or psychedelic they could be, you're like, man, why are people coming up with these ideas? I mean, you have groups dedicated to women turning into goo, into slime girls, and fusing together to become one slime girl. You have things with character. You have people that do art and stories of women melting into puddles and enjoying it, stuff like that. You have all this weirdness and uniqueness that you wouldn't think would apply to being an animated series, but Midnight Gospel pretty much proves you wrong. So could we end up seeing stuff like Midnight Gospel, more series like this, whether it's adult or all ages, animated wise in the future? Absolutely. I could see someone that I've talked about before. I could see someone like Mr. Internet Man's Demonica / Veronica character and Exotica Rebecca character in their own series on Netflix, building upon what Midnight Gospel does. And that's the trippiness, the weirdness, because of the fact that both alter egos of Rebecca and Veronica, the mischievous demon elves, Demonica and Exotica, can turn themselves into anyone or anything. They could shapeshift into anyone. They could shapeshift into anything. They can melt into puddles of goo. They could fuse together. I mean, possibilities are endless. So I could see stuff like that happening. I could see minor dash alterations stories like the Demonica series that they did based on Mr. Internet Man's character becoming a series. I could see the new series, The Model and the Symbiont, becoming a series in the veins of Midnight Gospel, because Midnight Gospel pretty much kicks down the door and says, look, there is room for this kind of psychedelic weirdness kind of animation, and you could apply, and at the same time, you apply a story to it. At the same time, you're applying a story that pretty much is easy to follow. Might be a bit complicated, but it, in the end, is easy to follow, and you'll connect the dots with. So I could see them doing that. I could see them honestly doing that. Heck, Doodly Dude, as he's known on DeviantArt, is all about fusions and doing a series, fusing characters together, his own original characters and all that. I could see an animated series based around his concept or concept like that being on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu, that follows suit like Midnight Gospel. And it would work. You could have a coherent story to go along with it. So there's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of possibilities. And I could see these kind of things that I just mentioned coming in the coming years because of a show like Midnight Gospel opening the door. I could see that. I really can. So anyway, finally, number 5, and I got to, like I said, wrap this up because I got to get ready for work. Finally, number 5, with all these animated series reboots / retcons debuting over the past couple of years, and with more on tap in the upcoming future, what other classic animated series could we see getting the same treatment? Or getting that same treatment? And that's a good question. The window is open. The window is open to all kinds of possibilities. And to me, I could see a lot of series. Like I could see Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats, either like they were in the early to mid 80s or individually on their own with their own individual series based on both concepts. I could see them getting a reboot, a retcon, if you will, for the new generation. I could see Silverhawks getting a reboot retcon without, but not, I should say, going the route of Thundercats Roar, but going the route that they did in 2011, 2010 with Thundercats. I could see them doing the same with Silverhawks. I could see Gargoyles from Disney getting a renaissance, getting a reboot, and being a bit darker maybe in tone. I could see Kim Possible, believe it or not, getting a reboot or a retcon, or a continuation reboot retcon, following her days in college. Yeah, even the Looney Tunes, they're kind of getting a reboot, retcon, remake this year with the Looney Tunes show on HBO Max. There's a good example right there. And when you look at like one of the first cartoon shorts that WB Kids has put on their YouTube page, it's basically a hybrid of what they were in the past and what they are now. So that's pretty cool. I could see Galaxy Rangers, Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers, getting a reboot or remake. Jason the Wheeled Warriors, Mask, which is now under Hasbro. I can see that. What else? I could see Reboot. Reboot getting one. Technology is advanced. You can do Reboot and show, and basically the premise is to show how far technology has come even for them. So I could see a lot of these. Animaniacs, again, another good example by Bugs here. They're getting a show later on this year that's supposed to be on Hulu and maybe even HBO Max. They can stay true to what the series was, involving Yakko, Wacko, and Dot and Pinky and the Brain, as well as characters like Minerva, Slappy Squirrel, Katie Kaboom, and all that. Heck, I've even said, that I could see them doing more Minerva Mink shorts now because they would be more free, they would be less restraints. And I could see a Minerva Mink cartoon where she would end up doing like she did in the first two, and that's melt into a puddle of goo, do the lustful melt gag, but this time seep into the ground and then pop up, and then all of a sudden you see this big old flower pop up, and then you see a bloom, and out comes Minerva sliding down one of its petals. I could see that. Again, I could see that happening. I could see Goldie Gold and Action Jack. If you watch TV Trash by Chris Moore, or Rowdy C, I could see something like that getting a remake or a retcon for this new generation. Heck, they did it with Wacky Races on Boomerang. I think they could do it now. They did it with Bunocula, I think. Bunnyinocula. They did it with him. So I can see them doing it. Heck, they're doing it with the Hanna-Barbera characters with Jellystone. And they're planning to basically do a cinematic universe starting with Scoob. So I could see a lot of that. I could see a lot of those properties. So I could see a lot of properties from the past getting that kind of treatment. I really could. I could see Gatchaman, aka Battle of the Planets, getting that treatment. Robotech getting that treatment. I can see a lot of it. But again, that's just my opinion. Like I said, that's just, my opinion on it. But there's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of possibilities. I could see Disney doing remakes of Gravity Falls or continuation remakes, reboots of Gravity Falls, of Star versus the Forces of Evil. I could see that. I could see a Tailspin reboot or remake based on, what we're going to see with Kit and Molly. I could see that. The point is, these are just shows, in my opinion, that I could see happening. I could see Jim and the Holograms getting one, for goodness sake. That could be done in a style that attracts everybody's attention and probably is a success like Friendship is Magic. Who knows? But again, the possibilities are endless. The possibilities are just endless. And I think it's just up to whoever owns the properties to say, okay, let's remake this and see what happens. So I could see that. Heck, I could see Inhumanoids, which is a Hasbro property nobody really talks about that much, getting a remake, especially in time for Halloween. So again, I could see a lot of this. I could see a lot of this stuff occurring. A lot of these shows getting this opportunity. But we'll have to wait and see what occurs, and what shows will get greenlighted. We really do. So anyway, though, guys, that's pretty much all I'm going to say on it. I've got to get myself ready for work now. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming into the live chat and watching, listening to what I had to say. Let me know what you all think down below. Comment if you like. I'd love to hear what each and every one of you have to say on this. And, that's about it. So I'll talk to you later. I might try to put some videos up during the day while I work. Maybe do some discussion videos during lunch or during my breaks. But that's totally up in the air right now. But my only focus as I speak is to get ready for work. So again, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Comment down below if you didn't do so in this live chat. And I will talk to you all later. God bless. Take care. I'm out. Stay safe and stay home if you have to.